In one of my previous videos, I mentioned learning from books, and this is a question that I've got recently. If you want to learn photography, which book should you get? In Portuguese, it's quite difficult to find books, and it's also one of the reasons why my channel is in English. But what you need to understand is that it will be hard to find every book or all the resources in your own language. So speaking English and understanding English is a very good way to go, and if you don't, just get a translator, use Google Translator or something. But yeah, books are one of the best ways to learn, in my opinion. And I'm going to recommend some books, and these books are in English, obviously, but it also depends on what you want to learn. So I'm going to talk a bit about the types of books. You have like general books, and if you just want to learn how to use your camera, what's exposure, the exposure triangle, many times even the camera manual has this. You don't really need to buy anything to learn these things. Or you can find basic YouTube videos. The Art of Photography channel, I think they have like beginner videos about these things, which usually Ted is quite good in what he says about photography. It's a really good learning source. But if you want a book, these are some of my recommendations. This book is The Photographer's Eye. There are two books of the same name. This is one from Michael Freeman. And the reason why I would recommend this book is because it's about composition mostly. So it talks about foreground, background, how to appeal to the interest of the viewer with visual elements like circles, rectangles, diagonal lines. It's all about composition. So it's a really good book to learn photography to start with, because as I mentioned before, photography is a visual art. And aside from knowing how to use the camera, these kind of things, in my opinion, is what will matter the most, what it's actually visible on the photo. So this is number one. Book number two, it's only an example, but I'm going to use this example because this is my own example. When I started photography, I wanted to shoot commercial photography, advertisement, portraits. So obviously I work with the studio, with artificial lighting, and this book, Light, Science and Magic, I think this is considered by any studio photographer the Bible. This book is everything. There is everything you need to know about lighting, how to light metals, how to light glass, how to light wood surfaces, angles, some lighting setups. This book kind of has everything you need to know about using and working with artificial light. So this is what I call a specialty book. So if you already know which kind of photography you want to get into, try to find within your niche what's the reference book, which book is the most recommended, and start from there. Then obviously you can adapt according to your own likings, but this is the way you get into more advanced photography. So you start learning about niche. So if you're shooting birds, you get a book about how to photograph birds. If you're shooting in a studio, you get a book like this. If you're shooting food, you get a book about how to shoot food. So yeah, this is what I would call specialty books, and it really depends on what you want to photograph. The third book and my last book, and this one especially it's just an example, because the third kind of book that I would recommend you to get is an author's book. So this book here is a book about Guy Bourdin. He's a fashion photographer and one of my idols. So that's why I bought the book, basically. And I really like his work. And these kind of books, they will give you the visual culture. So in my previous videos, I spoke about visual culture, knowing what works, what doesn't work. And this is one of the ways to get it. Like if you're shooting advertising, commercial photography, or most of any other kind of photography, you can just go to the source that is being published. Like you can buy a fashion magazine, you can buy a book about birds and see how the photos were taken, or you can buy a newspaper and see how photojournalists take photos. What's the usual framing? How are they close to the action? Are they further away? And this will give you a perception, so you can consume it directly from magazines that are being published every day. But if you have reference authors that you like, you should buy author books. So you should look at their work. Many times these books have a description about their process and how they arrived to that photo. So why did they take that photo like that? Was it because they were struggling with time, or were they looking for a specific look? Were they limited on resources? Sometimes this also happens. They just work with whatever they have. Sometimes it also tells you a bit of where they are coming from and what was cool or what was a good photo at that time. Because obviously many photos from the past, you look at it nowadays and you think like, yeah, anybody could have shot this, but the reality is not everyone did, only that specific person did. And sometimes in seasons, in times where those kinds of images were not really accepted that well. So it's good to understand these whys. Why was the photo taken like this? Why this photo and not something else? And this is something that you usually learn from author books. So if you have photographs that you really like, check who was the author, and then try to find if there is a book on them. And as you can see, I have quite a collection here. So these books are some of the most important for you to grow in your photography. Thank you for watching, and once again, subscribe my channel. Let me know in the comments if you want to talk, if you want me to talk about anything photography related, if you have any questions that I might be able to answer to you, and follow me on Instagram for more content and some of my personal work. Thank you.